Imagine a vehicle that was mocked by critics as a suicide box and a waste of billions, only to become the deadliest tank killer on the modern battlefield. It's not a tank, but it has destroyed more Soviet armor than the Abrams itself. This is the M2 Bradley. Born from a decade of bureaucratic chaos, it evolved into a high-tech predator that hunts in the dark and punches far above its weight. Today, we're looking at why the Bradley is the ultimate giant slayer and how it's currently redefining the rules of war in the fields of Ukraine. The origin of the M2 Bradley is one of the most infamous stories in military engineering history. In the late 1960s, the U.S. Army realized that their old M113 battlefield taxis were hopelessly outdated. They needed a vehicle that could keep up with the new M1 Abrams, protect the infantry from Soviet autocannons, and fight back against enemy tanks. However, the project was plagued by mission creep. Every general wanted something different: more armor, more seats, a bigger gun, and even amphibious capabilities. The development lasted nearly 15 years, costing billions and becoming a symbol of Pentagon waste that was even parroted in Hollywood movies. Despite the political drama, the engineering that emerged was a radical leap forward. The Bradley was designed as an infantry fighting vehicle, IFV, a concept the Soviets had pioneered with the BMP. It was built with spaced laminate armor, combining aluminum and steel to provide a balance between weight and protection. The most distinctive feature was its turret, which packed a 25mm Bushmaster autocannon and a twin-tow missile launcher. This meant the Bradley wasn't just a transport, it was a lethal combatant that could suppress enemy infantry with a hail of high-explosive shells and destroy main battle tanks from miles away. The soul of the Bradley's lethality is the 25mm M242 Bushmaster. This chain gun is a masterpiece of reliability and precision. Unlike gas-operated guns that can jam, the Bushmaster is externally powered by an electric motor, meaning it cycles through rounds with mechanical perfection. It can fire armor-piercing depleted uranium sabot rounds that can shred light vehicles and even penetrate the side and rear armor of Soviet-made tanks. During testing, the Bushmaster proved so accurate that it could hit a target the size of a man's chest from over a mile away, turning the Bradley into a long-range sniper on tracks. To deal with heavy armor, the Bradley was equipped with the tow missile system. These wire-guided missiles gave the light Bradley a reach of nearly 4 kilometers, allowing it to destroy the most advanced Soviet tanks long before they could return fire. The launcher was designed to fold away while the vehicle was moving and deploy in seconds once a target was spotted. This one-two punch of a rapid-fire autocannon and heavy anti-tank missiles made the Bradley a unique hybrid. It was a scout, a transport, and a tank destroyer all rolled into one, a versatility that would soon be tested in the fires of the Middle East. One of the most underrated features of the Bradley was its advanced optics and thermal imaging systems. Even in the early 80s, the Bradley's gunner could see the heat signatures of enemy troops and vehicles through smoke, dust, and total darkness. This god-eye view gave American crews a massive tactical advantage, allowing them to dominate the night. While Soviet crews were squinting through primitive night vision goggles, Bradley commanders were watching the battlefield in high-definition heat vision, turning the fog of war into a clear and lethal map of targets. When the M2 Bradley officially entered service in 1981, many soldiers were skeptical. It was tall, it carried fewer troops than the M113, and it was expensive. But the Army knew that the Bradley was the missing link in their airland battle doctrine. It was designed to fight in a high-intensity war against the Soviet Union in Europe, where every vehicle had to be capable of killing the enemy. The Bradley was the modern cavalry, a fast and lethal machine that was ready to lead the charge. The troubled child was about to grow up, and the world was about to see what happens when you unleash a giant slayer in the desert. The 1991 Gulf War was the moment the M2 Bradley silenced its critics forever. Operating alongside the M1 Abrams, the Bradleys were tasked with scouting the vast Iraqi desert and screening the flanks of the armored divisions. Many expected the Bradleys to be vulnerable to Iraqi tank fire, but the opposite happened. The Bradley's thermal sights allowed crews to spot Iraqi T-55s and T-72s at ranges that seemed impossible. Before the Iraqis even knew they were being watched, a tow missile would scream out of the darkness, turning their multi-million-dollar tanks into burning scrap metal. During the 100-hour ground war, the M2 Bradley actually claimed more armored vehicle kills than the M1 Abrams. This statistic shocked the world. Because the Bradleys were often in the lead as scouts, they were the first to encounter Iraqi formations. The 25mm Bushmaster proved to be devastatingly effective against Iraqi APCs and even the older T-55 tanks, which the Bradley could disable with repeated hits to their engine decks and turrets. The Scout was doing the work of a main battle tank, proving that its high-tech sensors and rapid-fire gun were a lethal combination in the open desert. Survivability, once the biggest criticism of the Bradley, became its greatest legend in Desert Storm. In multiple incidents, Bradleys were hit by Iraqi fire, and while they were often disabled, the crews almost always walked away. The spaced armor and internal spall liners did their job, protecting the soldiers from the fragments that would have killed them in an older M113. American crews began to trust their aluminum coffins with their lives, realizing that the Bradley's ability to see and kill the enemy first was the best armor they could ever have. It wasn't about being indestructible, it was about being the fastest and smartest predator on the field. The 2003 invasion of Iraq and the following insurgency saw the Bradley evolve into an urban hunter. In the narrow streets of Baghdad and Fallujah, the 25mm autocannon was the perfect tool for suppressing snipers and clearing buildings with surgical precision. The high-elevation capability of the gun allowed the Bradley to fire into the upper floors of skyscrapers, a feat most tanks struggled with. However, the rise of IEDs and RPGs led to the development of the Bradley Urban Survivability Kit, BUSK, adding explosive reactive armor and specialized glass to protect the crew from the new, invisible threats of asymmetric warfare. Throughout the Iraq War, the Bradley proved it was the workhorse of the infantry. It carried soldiers into the heart of the fight, provided them with a moving fortress of fire support, and evacuated the wounded under the heaviest fire. The infantry fighting vehicle concept had finally been perfected. The Bradley wasn't just a vehicle, it was a member of the squad. Its presence alone would often make the insurgents think twice before attacking, as they knew that the Bradley's thermal eyes were always watching and its 25mm gun could react in a split second. By the time the Bradley left Iraq, it had become an icon of American military power. It had fought through sandstorms, urban ruins, and mountain passes, proving its ruggedness and adaptability. The billions of dollars spent on its development were now seen as a brilliant investment. The Bradley had outlasted the Soviet Union and proven that a high-tech IFV was essential for modern combat. It was a battle-hardened veteran, but its most dramatic and high-stakes challenge was still decades away, waiting in the muddy tree lanes and vast fields of Eastern Europe. When the first M2A2 ODS Bradleys arrived in Ukraine in 2023, the world watched with bated breath. This was the scenario the Bradley was built for, a high-intensity, conventional war against a Russian army. In the hands of Ukrainian crews, the Bradley quickly proved that it hadn't lost its giant slayer edge. In a now famous engagement, two Ukrainian Bradleys faced off against a Russian T-90M, Russia's most advanced operational tank. Using nothing but their 25mm Bushmaster autocannons, the Bradleys blinded the T-90, shredded its optics, and forced the tank's turret to spin uncontrollably, eventually leading to its destruction. It was a David versus Goliath moment that went viral globally. The fear factor of the Bradley has returned with a vengeance on the Ukrainian battlefield. Russian soldiers have reportedly nicknamed the Bradley the Evil Machine because of its relentless 25mm fire and its ability to hunt at night. In many sectors, Russian infantry will refuse to assault a position if they know a Bradley is patrolling the area. The high rate of fire from the Bushmaster creates a wall of lead that can suppress entire platoons and shred light armored columns before they can even deploy. The Bradley has become a psychological weapon, a predator that owns the night and refuses to let the enemy rest. Survivability has once again become the Bradley's most praised feature in Ukraine. Ukrainian soldiers have posted dozens of videos showing Bradleys taking direct hits from ATGMs, artillery, and FPV drones, yet the crew and the infantry inside survive and evacuate. To a soldier used to Soviet BMPs, which are notorious for exploding and killing everyone inside when hit, the Bradley feels like a miracle. Ukrainian commanders have stated that the Bradley is the only vehicle they trust to carry their men through the intense gray zones under heavy Russian fire. It is saving lives every single day, turning a 40-year-old American machine into a Ukrainian national hero. The versatility of the Bradley is being pushed to its absolute limit in the muddy Rasputitsa conditions of Ukraine. While heavier Western tanks sometimes struggle in the deep mud, the Bradley's power-to-weight ratio allows it to maintain a degree of mobility that is critical for quick strikes and rapid retreats. Ukrainian mechanics have also shown incredible ingenuity, maintaining these complex machines in field workshops under constant drone threat. The Bradley is proving that it is not just a fair-weather weapon, it is a rugged survivor that can fight in the most miserable conditions on Earth and still come out on top. The Bradley is also acting as the eyes and ears for Ukrainian armored formations. Using its advanced thermal sights, the Bradley can identify Russian targets at night and share that information with drone operators or artillery batteries. This sensor-fused warfare is exactly what the Bradley was designed for during the Cold War, and it is finally being executed to perfection. The Bradley isn't just a gun on tracks, it is a mobile command center that provides the tactical awareness needed to survive and win in a world of 24/7 drone surveillance. As the war continues, the Bradley's reputation only grows. It has moved from being a piece of military aid to being a fundamental part of Ukraine's fighting spirit. For the Americans watching from home, it is a point of immense pride to see their troubled child from the 80s outperforming the best the Russian military can offer. The Bradley has proven that Western engineering, even from decades ago, was built with a level of quality and crew protection that remains unmatched. The Giant Slayer is no longer a myth, it is a reality that is changing the map of Europe one 25mm shell at a time. The final analysis of the M2 Bradley is a story of ultimate vindication. It is a machine that survived the mockery of the media, the chaos of the Pentagon, and the end of the Cold War to become the most successful IFV in history. It proved that the mission creep that nearly killed the project actually resulted in a vehicle that could do everything well. The Bradley established the standard for what a modern infantry fighting vehicle should be, a lethal, protected, and high-tech platform that prioritizes the lives of the soldiers inside. It is a machine that changed the U.S. Army forever and redefined the meaning of combined arms warfare. The influence of the Bradley can be seen in every modern armored vehicle design today, from the German Puma to the British Ajax. They all follow the Bradley blueprint, a powerful autocannon, anti-tank missiles, and heavy composite armor. The Bradley taught the world that the battlefield taxi was dead. In a modern war, every vehicle must be a fighter. It also proved that thermal optics and digital sensors are just as important as armor thickness, a lesson that has become the foundation of 21st century military doctrine. The Bradley was a pioneer of the sensor age, a machine that was decades ahead of its time. Today, the U.S. Army is finally looking toward the future with the XM-30 mechanized infantry combat vehicle, the designated replacement for the Bradley. But replacing a legend is not easy. The new vehicle will have to be lighter, faster, and even more high-tech, featuring AI-assisted targeting and hybrid engines. However, the Bradley isn't going away quietly. The current A4 upgrades are keeping the fleet lethal for the next decade, and the thousands of Bradleys in storage mean that this machine will continue to be a strategic asset for the U.S. and its allies for years to come. The Viper of the Desert is still very much alive. The cultural legacy of the Bradley is also significant. It has appeared in countless documentaries, books, and movies, often as the reliable workhorse that brings the good guys home. For the veterans who served in its cramped hull, the Bradley is more than just steel and electronics, it's the place where they lived, fought, and survived. It is a machine that commands a unique kind of respect from those who know its history. It is a symbol of American resilience, a project that started as a disaster but ended as a masterpiece of military engineering. Standing next to a Bradley today, you feel its imposing presence. It's taller and bulkier than you'd expect, covered in boxes, sensors, and the battle-scarred reactive armor plates. It doesn't look like a museum piece, it looks like it's ready to roll back into the mud of Ukraine or the sands of Iraq tomorrow. It is a machine of pure purpose. It radiates a sense of lethal reliability. From the whispering death of the Gulf War to the evil machine of today, the Bradley has remained the ultimate tool of American foreign policy and armored excellence. In the final analysis, the M2 Bradley is the ultimate survivor. It outlasted the critics, the Cold War, and the Russian tanks it was built to kill. It proved that in the theater of war, a 25mm gun and a tow missile can be just as important as a 120mm cannon. The Bradley remains the giant slayer, a machine that has earned its place in the halls of military legends through fire, mud, and blood. As the sun sets on its long career, the Bradley can hold its head high, knowing it did the one thing it was designed to do: it won. The roar of the Bushmaster is the sound of victory, and the Bradley is the machine that delivers it.